Hello everybody, Mobius1 here, bringing you another Star Wars Galaxies emulator video. This is number three interviews of SWGEmu staff. Today we have QA member Farelli. Farelli, how you doing?
Oh, good. Thank you. How you doing?
Welcome. I'm doing well. We're surviving, right? I'm on quarantation, being stuck at home. Farelli, like I said, is on the QA team, similarly to how Skirby from the last interview was. So we have a couple questions we're going to run through, do a little bit of a personal question thing first, and then we'll get into a little bit of the Star Wars Galaxies related stuff, and then at the end we will open up to everybody who's watching the chat if they want to throw any questions at you. We could do that. I know we've got a couple other staff members actually in chat. LK's in there right now. But yeah, no cool background. I had considered putting chat on stream for those of you watching after the fact on YouTube. It was a request that I had after the last interview, was to actually have chat viewable on stream, and I am going to say no to that because having the chat on the stream just encourages people to say stupid things for attention. So if anyone, when we do get to the Q&A, I will read any questions aloud for those that are watching after the fact. Hello, everybody. Hello, Splints. Yes, so you can ask questions in chat whenever, but if you do, just keep in mind that we're going to try to stick to the script until the end, and then we'll get around to those afterwards. So, with all that out of the way, I also have a feeling this is going to be the most casual of the three interviews, because Farelli and I have spoken the most previously. But, as a formality, let's talk a little bit about you. Feel free to say as much or as little as you're comfortable with. But we'll start it out pretty basic. How were you, if you remember, first introduced to Star Wars?
I saw all of the original films in theaters.
You got me beat.
One of my first memories that I can think of is very young. I was not even 5, I think, is Luke Skywalker's face on a drive-in movie screen. And so, and then we got, if some people are probably familiar with, if they're old enough, people know about vinyl records, but there was a time, like in the early 80s, they actually made 45 singles. Matter of fact, I think they were dual-sided. And so you'd have like 5 minutes per side or 4 minutes per side, like a song length, and it would be the whole film on a 2-sided 45
Ooh.
single. And with a flip book that was like 24 pages that had the dialogue, so it actually helped you learn to read and stuff. But we just burned those things up as kids, and we had all the toys and we did all that stuff.
Yeah.
I remember I fell asleep in the theater watching The Empire Strikes Back, and so when we were walking
Blasphemy.
out, my younger brother and
thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah,
we'll see you next time.
We were they were talking about how they had seen the back of Darth Vader's head. Spoilers. And
I don't think you have to say spoilers for a 39-year-old movie.
Yeah, but
it's longer than 41, isn't it?
40.
Sorry.
40. It's 40. 1980. Yeah. I argued with them, but I had fallen asleep and not realized it.
That's worse than going to the bathroom. I can understand that. Having to get up and go to the bathroom. Yeah. Okay, so you're one of the OG fans. Very nice.
I've been way back then.
Talk about your first experience back in live SWG. About where during the game's lifespan did you join, and what are some of your first memories of playing?
I started literally at like 3 days before Christmas, I think, in 2004. So that is a year and a half after the game started. That is post Publish 9.
So
in fact, JTL had already been.
Oh, so that was after.
Actually put me over the edge.
Okay.
I had been aware of the project for at least a year before that, and I had never played an MMO before, so I had not dived into that. And then when I got the offer to buy the combined set that had JTL on it, I decided, let me do the whatever it was, 10 days or 14 days trial.
Yep.
Did that. I decided that I wanted to start on Tatooine because I'm OG like that, but I didn't want to start in Mos Eisley because that was too on the nose.
Yeah, that was too. That was too. I want to be familiar, but not that familiar.
So I picked Mos Espa, which at the time I was not aware, having only seen. Matter of fact, I think I had seen the Phantom Menace once and not realized the name of the city. So I picked that city, and it was opposite side of the planet. And within a couple of days, I met a couple of other brand new players, and we spent our time like back behind the starport, and would just run out there and kill stuff because we had no idea. Like 3 people that had been in the game for a half an hour, you know.
Yeah. Everything was new.
I mean, it's just everything could kill you. Especially Tatooine is like the worst. Everything is going to spit acid at you, and it's a horrible place to start if you're brand new. And I remember that there's a 3 rock spire formation that's out to like I want to say it's to like the northeast of Mos Espa, which is the first place that I ever died in game, and I still think about it when I see the formation.
Oh, that's a good one.
They died out there.
I've talked a lot about my first couple experiences in Galaxies, but I don't know if I remember where I was in my first death. That's cool,
I couldn't tell you where I was for any of the other ones, but I remember that one distinctly because I died and we were so wounded that we just sat there and tried to heal for like ever right beside those 3. And I remember thinking at the time, this is really great scenery.
Nice. Oh man, that's cool though. So how did you first discover the SWGEmu project then?
That's interesting. I kind of discovered it 3 times, I'd say. I was aware in the 2005 time frame that it had started, but I didn't take it very seriously. I didn't pay very much attention.
That was right after the combat upgrade, right? People had
Yeah.
already decided, hey, we don't like these changes. We're going to do something about it.
That's right, yeah. And at first it was like a forum, and I don't know exactly when any technology started. I don't have that information on the top of my head, but so it was the combat upgrade was April 27th, 05. The NGE was November 8th, I want to say.
Yeah, it was shortly after. It was only like a 6-month period.
It was 1 week after Trials of Obi-Wan was released, which a lot of people forget. People forget that people think, oh, they changed the CU and then they did the NGE and people were really upset. But I think the thing that really, really pissed people off is they sold Trials of Obi-Wan after 6-7 months of CU. Everybody bought those, and they gave you like a bark speeder and the skiff. And then a week later, they dumped the NGE and changed the whole game after they had sold all those copies. It was a really, really snaky move.
Oof, that's one way to lose a fan base.
Yeah.
It was just crazy. Yeah, SOE had to offer refunds on Trials. I don't doubt it. Yeah, can you imagine coming into the game, downloading, like creating your first character, looking at all the skill trees, being like, oh man, I'm gonna be a rifleman, and I'm gonna mix that with smuggler, and I don't even know what's a meta profession. I'm just gonna have fun, and then you get to play for less than a week, and then they take all that away from you. That's pretty crushing. So then did you? I guess you're kind of like me because I was the same way. I had heard about this project back after the combat upgrade and paid it no attention, and then discovered it later back when Liberator was the server. Is that the same for you?
Yeah, it was somewhere around that time. I've got some screenshots actually that one of the first things I posted on the current forums was that I had some old screenshots from live that weren't, and Nee told me, no, those are from Liberator. And so I still remember that post. But what got me back into it was around May of 2014, so 6 years ago now, is I got a hankering for it again. And I Googled it and found your first few videos.
I want to. That's exactly what I was actually going to search. I'm curious. I think my first videos were posted around there.
Yeah, I think it might have been like 6 months earlier or something like that.
Uh, yeah, it's probably take longer than it should to search, but um, yeah, 2014, March of 2014. So it was probably around January of 2014 that I first started. That's crazy. But yeah, so that was yeah, because Liberator, I actually downloaded and played on Liberator 2 one time. I signed in once, I picked up my first mission, I followed the waypoint, and the creature lair was on the bottom of an ocean, and I couldn't attack it. But all the creatures that were spawning on it were attacking me, swimming in the water. And I was like, all right, I'll come back to this later. So I did. That's neat. I didn't realize we had a pretty similar first experience with the
Yeah.
project. But what is it about SWG? What does SWG have that other MMOs or other games in general don't have that you enjoy or keeps you coming back to it?
Well, it's got a really robust system of interdependence and exploration. It could have the certain aspects of it could have been developed better, but it's really well designed. But at the end of the day, Star Wars, and in particular for me, is the soundtracks. I've been a fan of those soundtracks since I was a kid. I would get the records and listen to them. So I don't know. There's a lot of aspects to it.
Yeah, you used to be able to say, "Oh, it's just Star Wars," and that was a huge draw at the time. But unfortunately, that it's not really a unique thing anymore. Some people will debate whether the Old Republic can be called Star Wars.
Well, it's also not the only ingredient. Like, because I think the Old Republic is Star Wars, but it's obviously at a vastly different time period. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it per se, but it's not the same experience at all.
Yep, it's like comparing a sandbox to a roller coaster. You know, one's a theme park MMO, Galaxy's a
Yeah.
sandbox MMO. They're just very different games. Okay. Next up, just real quick, when you're playing, and I don't mean being QA, but when you're actually playing SWG, what do you enjoy doing?
Um, it used to be a different answer.
I
Uh,
imagine.
Today, it's usually trying out something new or setting a new goal for myself, like trying to do something completely at the keyboard, for example.
Harder than it
Uh,
might sound.
um, well, it's not hard. It's just you have to be dedicated in some cases. But never gets to play. Who said I get to play? But if I go back to the live, especially after NGE happened for a while, I got to the point where all I did was fly. I had, and of course we can't do that now, but um, I had, let's see, I did, I think one of the Rebel squadrons, and then I think I did one of the Imperial ones, and then I found out that you got a bonus for an XP for once you did a squadron
Mm-hmm.
master. So then I set for myself the goal of mastering all 9 of the JTL squadrons, which I did, and I ended up doing, I think it was like, I ended up doing like 14 aces, something like that.
Man, I love flying. That's a lot of flying.
Yeah,
That's
and I was really getting, I was starting to get into reverse engineering my gear really strongly, and then they cut the game.
timing.
Yeah.
All right. So that's cool. You got a pretty rich background then. Further back than I thought you did. I didn't know you played so early on. But all right. So now that you once you became part of the project staff, which how long have you actually been on staff?
I've been staff for I think just shy of 4 years. It was July of 2016 that I
Okay.
was made a QA staff. I was a CT since November-ish, or
Oh, that was gonna
no, I'm sorry, it was from February of
that
the
was
same
going to
year.
be my next question. Actually, is what roles on staff were you? Because I remember you started out as a community tester or CT.
Yeah, because I get mixed up because I made a decision in November-ish, November 15th-ish of 2015 to go on to Nova and test something. And what it was, there was an old bug it was fixed in Pub 8 that was, and I can't remember exactly what it was. You couldn't, it was something to do with listening and watching entertainers.
Yes.
And it was really
I
a
remember
pain.
you had to like stop watching and stop listening like in a certain order or the buff
Yeah,
wouldn't apply.
yeah, it was
Yep.
really, and I got to the point one day where I was getting my buffs and I got annoyed. So I went to see that it had been fixed and learned how it was working, how the difference worked between Basilisk and Unstable. Went on to Nova and made a couple of characters and got one to be an entertainer and tested that to make sure that it was fixed because I decided I wanted to test it. And that led me to a next thing and a next thing. And then I think around the middle of December or something, I was testing something with Rancors and got a little bit of help from Skirby. And then by
Sauron.
February, I was made, yeah, Sauron, the eye. Um,
I don't have any images to put over your photo yet. We'll see. We'll see where this goes. So do you we'll use that as kind of a segue of all the different things that you fix. Do you have a single contribution, whether that be a bug fix or whatever, that you've made to the project that you consider your best or the one that you're the proudest of?
that first one is one that I remember really well. I think my proudest moment was when Pub 8 went live. It was in June or July of 2016. And when the published notes were printed, I read through the list, and it's staggering how many things you've checked when something goes live. It might have been, yeah, it was Pub 8. You just read through that list, and I remember checking that. I remember checking that. I remember
Just the
checking
published
that.
checklist is amazing. You know, when you get towards the release of a publish and you go to look, because I did a couple videos where I would go through the published checklist, and they go on forever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't read all this. I have to go through it ahead of time and cherry pick the ones that I want to highlight. Because if I didn't, if I read the whole list, it would be a 45-minute video.
Yeah, right.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
because
there's a lot of little things that you guys do that I don't think people realize.
you have. So I've been part of the project for the finish of Pub 8, Pub 9, and Pub 10, and everything we've done since then. And on those checklists that we have, we've got it's a Google spreadsheet that anybody can look at, actually, by the way. But
Yeah, there's a link to it right on the main SWGEmu page, right under that first update.
and what it is it's okay. It's a list of commits that were merged into the Core 3 repo, and they'll say fixed this Mantis number 8046 or whatever, or maybe it won't say that. And then what we do is somebody checks it to verify that it works properly and it gets a +1, and then somebody else checks it to verify that it works and it gets a +2, and then it's okay, it's good, it's fixed, and we go, and you just have a list of those. Each page has got 99 lines. Actually, it's lines 4 through 99, so it's 90, 95 or whatever. And a publish will be the ones that we've done is between, I think, 7 and 11 pages of little, and it's just one little thing after another that get merged, that get written tested, merged, checked. And so when you go back and the publish notes are put together, which is a task, by the way, that somebody ends up doing.
Not it.
When you actually sit there and read through that, which I always do because I'm 47 years old and I can't remember what I did last week. So I read through that, and it's just crazy, all the things. And you don't always work 20 hours a week on the project or whatever, but you've touched hundreds of items. It's really staggering. And then what comes after that are pages and pages of people saying, oh my God, thanks for fixing this one little thing, because it's been driving me nuts for 2.5 years or whatever. And that's when you remember why you do that work, because it's fun to do and it's really awesome, but it's way better when somebody's deriving enjoyment from that. And your videos are great for that too, because you're like, oh my God, they put in the thing.
Yeah, look at that. The bazaar has a search bar now.
Yeah. Oh my, put in the eyes of Misra.
The jukeboxes. People laughed at me. They scoffed at the jukeboxes. And I said, you guys don't understand. These jukeboxes are the greatest feature.
When there was the event promoters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those event promoters have a lot of fun things on them. I didn't even know. I had to make... It took me 2 or 3 videos to cover all the stuff that you can get from those event promoters. I was really shocked. You mentioned not having 20 hours a week to work on the project. I know you're going through some changes at work and stuff in your real life. How often would you say now how much time would you say that you have to dedicate to the project?
Lately, my time actually going and testing stuff, I have not done a lot of it. There's been some work done on the AI recently. Mista finished off some code that was started a while ago by an older dev named Dan, and mostly Hackery and Fastburn and some community people have really kicked the tires on that. It's to the point where I would have to stop and read everything to really understand, okay, what should I go check now? But what I do is I'll research things, especially things that get brought up in chats. I'll just go check out how did they really work in live, because it's usually pretty easy to find what was happening in the way it really happened in up to 14.1, and you can verify whether we should go one way or another on it. I don't know. That said, I'm in communication with the staff and the community pretty much all day, every day.
Okay. So I used to talk to you a lot more on Discord than I have lately.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like I see you around that much, but I know that you are because I do still see the updates every once in a while. So, all right, that's good to know.
Yeah, what I used to do, I left a company in August that I had worked for 20 years, and I was driving to various sites in New England. So I spent a lot of time in the car.
Yep.
That's why people would talk to me on voice, and I'd be in the car.
I remember that.
I changed to a job where my office is about 5 miles from my house. So when I drive down there, it takes me 15 minutes to get there. And if I'm not in the office, I'm traveling. So I was telling you earlier, from September to December, I think I flew 31,000 miles. I just got my Google timeline update for the end of March the other day. And from January to March, I flew 11,000 miles, and I haven't flown actually since the beginning of March. So,
yeah, that's a lot of flying. Again, it seems to be a pattern. So what is it about working on this project that keeps you, what do you like working on? Why do you continue to work on this project? Because it is, for those that don't know, I don't think anybody watching this stream now doesn't already know this, but the project is run completely by volunteers. So it's a lot of work, a lot of time that you give up to work on this. Why? Why do you like doing it?
Money is not the only way you get paid in your life. I get paid by seeing people having a good time. People saying things like, hey, thanks for fixing that, or thanks for testing that. oh, hey man, cool, thanks. Just little stuff. Thank yous go a long way. At the end of the day, I know that at any given time there are several hundred people just deriving personal enjoyment from the work that we do, and it's cool.
Well, thank you for showing up for this interview, by the way. I don't know if I said that yet, but little thanks. And thanks to everybody who came to watch the interview. Just spread the love.
Yeah, no kidding.
But speaking of working on this project, you do unfortunately lose a little bit of the magic of SWG while working on it, and even just playing it now. Like, we know so much more about how the game works now that we've dissected it and rebuilt it than we did back when we played it in live. So obviously that changes your opinions of certain things. Would you say working on staff has changed your opinion or your perception of the community?
No.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, there are different kinds of people that play games, and some people are very competitive, and the game's designed to actually please the four Bartle types. That some people like to adventure and achieve things. Some people like to socialize. Some people like to explore stuff, and then there are people who like to compete and be the first on the leaderboard and things like that. And mostly your competitive people will compete anytime they can. I'm looking at you, Serena.
There you go. You got a shout out. Yeah, we're actually. This isn't a question on my list, but where would you put yourself in that? What kind of a person do you think you are, or would you be?
I'm a socializer.
Yeah. So we find you hanging out in the cantinas.
No, that's the funny thing.
It's not that much of a socializer.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I wouldn't. You'd never see me sitting around in a cantina. Not that I would not talk to people when I'm in there, but you would almost always find me communicating. I'm like this in my real life too. I'm a relationship builder, and I don't know. I create meaningful relationships with people, and so I would consider myself a socializer in that.
I think if I had to categorize myself, probably explorer. I just love going in, looking for new stuff, like the collection system. Despite all the faults the NGE had, or did the collection system come for the CU? I can't remember. But that collection system, just going around the planet, finding things, adding them to your collection, like collecting things, that was always my favorite thing. Okay, so that's really all the questions. Go ahead.
Regarding, you said that we have learned so much more about the game now, and we know so much more about it than we did in the live period. That's true. But the funny thing is that I have learned so much stuff in the last 4 years. It's crazy, the stuff that I've learned, that if you told me it was in the live game, I would have told you you're out of your damn mind. Mm-hmm. And I can't even think of some of the stuff right now. But there are things that if you don't know that they're there, they're shocking when you find out they exist.
And I'm sure there's a ton of stuff, even me. A lot of people think that I'm the know-all there is. No, I'm not. By far, I'm not an SWG expert. There are plenty of people that know more about this game than I do. Even that thing that was posted on the forums, the inventory thing that we were talking about earlier, I had no idea that was in the game, and apparently that was back in live. Those that don't know what I'm talking about, you'll see a video on it here in a couple days. But yeah, 100%. It's crazy how much little stuff there is hidden in the game that you don't know about. But I do want to actually start talking a little bit more about gameplay-related stuff and project-related stuff. 1.0. Kind of want to talk a little bit about that. But before we do, disclaimer that I always put in all three of my interviews, reminding everybody that anything that we talk about from this point on is definitely subject to change. And most of it is probably Farelli's opinion only, not reflecting the thoughts of the staff as a whole.
Hey,
So don't.
Algosa's here.
Hey, what's up, Algosa? Yes, so don't swear by anything that you hear over the rest of this video. However, it is good to discuss and good to speculate on possible futures. So, what you working on?
Um, the short answer.
Yeah, that's it.
The short answer is, what are we working on for 1.0? Essentially nothing, because we're working on delivering the 1.0 finished product.
Okay, I know. No, go ahead. Continue.
That said, what behind the scenes stuff is always being developed to create a more robust server for when we get to that stage of the project, because we want to develop the tools to make us better able to run, maintain, keep running, and administer said server.
Right. I know. I remember for the LK or Lord Cater interview, a lot of monitoring tools have been developed. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
That is true, yeah. And
Okay.
more stuff since then has been developed, and it's been better refined. And he's talking about it in chat right now. IG88A lives, and
Yeah.
so does C3PO.
Okay, so for those that I know that you guys are speaking very cryptically on purpose, a lot of devices have been put in place to prevent things like multiple account abuse. Um, I know credit sales was a thing that LK and I talked about a little bit. Different tools are being worked on so that once we do get to 1.0, those types of things should be less of, if at all, a factor to worry about. That's basically what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, if I want to be comical about it, I can say that we've got the Eye of Sauron, right?
Yep, that's right.
But he
That's what Scurvy was talking about.
But occasionally he could use a little help.
Got it. So basically, a lot of work is being done on things to make a better 1.0 that players who are playing by the rules might not necessarily notice or see.
That's true, yeah.
Okay. So it makes sense. And the cryptic obviously is just so people don't get any hints as to how to get around these tools as they're implemented. I've asked some of these questions in my previous interviews too, but I figured I'll just get your opinion on it as well. So what do you think other players can do at this time to help push the project forward? I know that there is work being done on the AI, at least a little bit on Nova, with the Imperial crackdown and like the stormtroopers doing contraband searches and that sort of thing. So is there anything that players, the rest of us, can do to kind of help?
Yeah, well, AI is a really big thing, and it's definitely worth testing stuff. There's a forum thread about AI testing on Nova, I believe it is. Somebody can paste it, I'm sure. I think Fastburn might be here and able to do that.
And so links, sorry to interrupt you, but any links that any of the guys in chat want to share, I'll put them in the video description down below this interview so people watching on YouTube after the fact can see those as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, cool. So that is a really detailed forum thread that explains what is being tested, any issues that have been found. We've got a whole AI testing sheet on the checklist, if I'm not mistaken, that explains everything, and there's +1s and +2s from everybody who's checked things out. But being plugged into that, and if we ask you to get on Nova and check something, that can really help us. If you get a handle on what's valid to be checked in that thread, it'll teach you things like, right now your faction pets might not work right, and that's to be expected. Because what we're worried about more is like pack aggro and if they run away when they're supposed to, and that's actually something that people who have gone on Nova have seen, and they the reaction that you get is, oh my God, I forgot all about this from when we were in live, that they used to do this, and it feels so much more real now. And
Cool. All right. So it's bottom line, same answer it's always been. Jump on Nova, try to break things.
in short, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I don't really know what 1.0 stuff, like a lot of because I open this up before we do this interview. I make a post on the forums, I reach out to people in Discord, and I say, hey, I'm going to be doing this interview. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know and I'll add them to my list. And I'd say 95% of the stuff that I get is ask them what kind of stuff we can see post 1.0. I already know what your answer is, but just so that everybody else can hear too, what kind of stuff can we expect to see post 1.0?
Surprises.
And add a little bit of what's Lord Cater's favorite word that he's going to be adding
Mystery.
back to the, yeah, there it is. Say it again.
Mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think nothing has been decided, really.
I think that's the most important thing. That right now
Because-
you guys are so busy working on other stuff.
Yeah.
That you haven't
Yeah,
gotten there yet.
Like, we've got a pretty limited staff. We're all volunteer. Everybody has a real life, real work. We alluded to this a little bit earlier, but like I said, I worked for a company for 20 years where I was driving around. Now I'm flying around. That was me. We've got a person who works in the corrections department. We've got school teachers. We've got people who have had real health issues. We've had a couple of people hospitalized in the last couple of months. We've got, did I mention somebody who's in healthcare? So some things slow down a little bit, especially now, because people have gone from working on SWGEmu to instead doing their healthcare stuff or learning how to teach from home and things like this. It slows us down a little bit, but at the end of the day, we don't spend a lot of time talking about what we're going to do in the future. We focus on getting ourselves to the point where we can start making those decisions. But what we do mostly agree on is that we would like to. The game is more fun for a lot of people when you don't know what's going to happen. You talked a little bit about the difference between the roller coaster and the sandbox. SWG, it's a sandbox. You can build any castle that you want, but the way that it existed in live and the way we've reverse engineered it, you know where all the grains are. It would be great if we can inject into it some surprise, some mystery, some sense of discovery. That's maybe not great for somebody who is an endgame driven PvP kind of person, but at the same time, most people can still say, you know what, I would like to have a new experience in Galaxies because I've had all the other ones already.
I'm 100% in agreement with you, but this is the perfect time to bring up a valid concern that was brought to my attention. Somebody reached out and said, there's a lot of talk about how once the project reaches the 1.0 goal, and even now that the project is in beta, we're going to start seeing some non-live 14.1 compliant changes, right? Like this is something that I talked to Skirby a little bit about in our interview, and just confirmed for me that even Basilisk going forward might see some changes in preparation for 1.0 that don't necessarily jive with 14.1. Is that correct?
Yes, I think that's fair to say. We have really vast databases that are just epically huge from a server that's 8 years old. And we have the ability to test things at scale that we would really like to find out now what they break.
Yes.
Rather than finding it out later on when we've put the server in.
Exactly. So, go ahead.
Doesn't mean we're going to just go pull the plug on all kinds of things, but and we discuss it as a staff. But
So
some things that have to be tested. Yeah.
with that in mind, the concern that was brought to my attention is there exists a portion of the community that plays on Basilisk because of the vanilla experience that it offers. So the concern is once 1.0 is reached, and even, before then, as these changes make their way onto Basilisk for testing, what separates the project from any other private server out there? Why would someone who's looking for a vanilla experience want to stay on the official server when there are other servers adding their own custom content already? I know when he asked me the question too, and I'm like, yeah, I'll add that one to the list because I don't have a good answer either.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's hard to answer, and that's why we have. That's why we don't have a dictatorship. We have a team. And we will have a team post 1.0 because any little thing you change, it has a cost. It affects the economy, and the economy is more than just the number of credits in game and how they flow. There's an economy of players and how many people are involved.
Yeah, you can't please everybody.
I mean, it's better to start with small stuff that you can expand and then start big, and now you have to have the discussion around contracting.
Yeah. So I think I don't want to put, again, this is my opinion. I'm not putting words in your mouth or the team's mouth, but I think what most people would agree is we want to keep the experience as close to vanilla as possible while also making it fresh. Putting that mystery into the game again, so there are new things to discover within the familiar play space. Like there's the server ideas section on the forums is a great place to go. I feel like I link that every interview, but there is a section on the Basilisk forums right now, or on the project forums right now, where you can go and discuss future ideas that the staff do read and talk about. And while there aren't any decisions being made yet, it's definitely a good place to go to express, your opinions or whether or not you agree with certain things that might be changed. Which leads me to, well, how do you feel about ADKs? Post 1.0. God, just say it. Just say it.
We've talked about this. ADKs are a great tool if you have a subscription-based customer base.
Which we can't have.
Which we cannot have, and we don't need to have. They were created for... I can't even come up with the answer. But I mean, we don't need them because not only do we not need them, it actually hurts the economy of the game. Any little change that makes it so you don't depend on the other professions in the game breaks the social aspect of the game.
Yes. SWG that's the whole... we talk about Raph Koster's stuff, that like the talks that he said, the whole point of the skill point system. The reason every character has 250 skill points is so that you cannot be self-sufficient. The point of the game is interdependency between players, and the ADK limits that.
Yeah.
And yeah, Fastburn said incentive.
It's like ADK, instant travel. Instant travel. Oh, Jesus.
Go ahead, let's talk about instant travel. Bring back the 10-minute starport timers.
When I started in the game, you had a 10-minute shuttle time.
Bring it back.
In the starport. First
change, 1.0.
And, there was just so many stories of people running. You'd buy your ticket and you'd be running out there and that thing would take off. And you know that feeling that you have when you have to wait 1 minute? You had to wait 10. And yeah, a moneymaker for Sony is what Splint says. 15 was the original. It was a time sink. It was a time sink, but it also forced socializing. People
Yep.
would gather and talk, and you would meet people. And sometimes, where are you headed? We're going to here. Oh, we were going there too. Let's group up. Little stuff like that would happen. The doctor lines were in the starport because there was so much wait time. So you get your buffs in the starport.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't think people would be in favor of bringing back the 10-minute shuttle timers. 5 minutes compromise? Maybe? We'll see.
Maybe. Yeah, because they changed them after December. They changed them to 5, right? There
They
was
changed
5
them
for
to
the
5,
shuttle
and
and
then,
1 for the starport, right?
well, it was everything was, when I first played, everything was 10. You're telling me they started at 15? They might have. I didn't play Galaxies for the
Somebody
first
wrote
year.
that. I'm not sure. So
Oh, okay. Sorry. Arclight said it was 15 as the original time. I missed the first year of the game. So when I played,
yeah,
everything was 10. Then, yeah, they reduced both to 5. And then later, at some point, they reduced the starport to 1 and kept the shuttle at 5.
right. Yeah, it was like shortly before I started. You still had to do corpse runs.
Oh, see, that's brutal.
Um, when you would you would be out in the wild and you would get killed and clone, and all your stuff would be on your corpse.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Minecraft. You'd have to run out there into the middle of the lion's den and get all your stuff.
See, we could easily make this a 2-hour live stream where we just talk about all these great potential 1.0 ideas. We could just talk about, hey, why don't we make, those jukeboxes that we were so hyped about? Why do they have to expire after 8 hours? Why can't we just make jukeboxes? Jack the price on them up so that, you have to pay more for them. But then once you put them in your house, you own that jukebox. Second change 1.0. First
change.
starport timers, then perma jukeboxes. Make it so.
Make it so. Engage.
Yeah, music for malls. See, imagine walking into South Coronet or South Isley Mall or something, and they got music playing. Sign me up. I mean, there are a couple other questions that chat has asked that I've taken notes. Some of you guys, just so you know, as you're asking questions, we have a Q&A at the end. If you ask a good question, I'm trying to write it down so that I can ask it later. But I mean, what more is there that you can really talk about before we just open it up to everybody else? Because there's been quite a few questions asked already. And I'm trying to catch up too on what everyone's saying.
Yeah, you go ahead and catch up. I mean, I don't know. I like the one thing I like the idea of, and I had thought about this, and I don't know if we would ever do it, but it would be kind of cool, is if you could create, quest lines that are in a random order, or use random NPCs. It would be work to code it. But then they're not the same every time, so you couldn't just, okay, I went through these 10 people and here's exactly the way it works, so everybody else can just follow this procedure.
Oh, that would make my job of making video guides way more difficult.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not in favor of that. Don't do that. But no, I mean, that would be neat. I actually had the idea of doing, because I'm always thinking of different reasons to play Galaxies and different ways to make it harder for myself, which is why we did that swipe experiment where we had a guild of people who all created new tunes and played totally separate from the rest of the server. One of my ideas was to go around the galaxy and take quests from all the NPCs with the little eye floating above their head, the little information icon, just to see what happens when you start doing quests for random NPCs.
Oh, that's
because nobody does
brutal. Oh yeah, QA.
Well,
it's unbelievable. First of all, there are not that many.
Okay, well that's good to know. You guys might see that in the future then.
It's worth doing because there. I shouldn't say there aren't that many, because there aren't that many types. I think there are 3 or 4 different types, but the range of dialogue is incredible. The little stories, it's all text based, so it's it's before the era of audio based MMOs, but you're going out to rescue this person. This person lost their their wife or something, and you're going out to the wilderness to find her, and there's an amazing amount of story put
Even
into most of these
the
quests.
terminal missions have that much
Yeah, yeah.
detail. You know, like I can't tell you the last time I actually read the title of a mission that I picked up from a terminal. You just sort by credit price. You might double click on it to see what type of layer it is if you're hunting a particular, NPC or creature type. But who cares? The flavor text, none of that's relevant. But it would be neat to have to actually talk to an NPC, read what they tell you to do, and then go do it.
Yeah, that's actually what bites a lot of people in the ass with the force sensitive stuff.
Yep.
Because you very often get instructions in the text that if you don't follow, you cannot complete the quest.
Yeah, the village, in particular, if you accept this task, you cannot work for anyone else. Only being able to do one village task per phase.
One village task per phase, one Corvette quest at a time. And if you don't go back to them and quit that quest, you can't do any of the other ones. They'll tell you you must be working for somebody else.
That brings up a good point. Let's talk a little about bug reporting, because I can't imagine how many false bug reports you guys get when it comes to that. Is that a common occurrence? I can't board the Corvette because this dude won't accept my ticket or something like that.
Yeah, we get asked about it every couple of weeks. It's usually in Discord or something.
So I know I talked a lot with Scurby about Mantis and the process for reporting bugs. Real quick, I know we didn't talk about this, so as best you can off the top of your head, talk about searching Mantis for existing bug reports. Is that something that can be done?
Yes, and I made a video about it some time ago.
Really? How convenient.
Did you know that?
I do remember that.
Yeah, so I made a couple of videos, and it's in the Nova forum, I think. Go grab the links.
If you wanna grab the links and post them in chat, and of course, like I said before, I'll put them in the video description. But yeah, Mantis is the site that's used for bug reporting. Got them?
Yeah, how to search for bugs on Mantis. Back to the chat. So that's how to search for bugs on Mantis, and then the other one is how to search for evidence with the SWGEmu .org forum archives.
The team loves it when people report bugs, but what they don't love is when people report bugs that have already been reported. So if you guys are helping the project by finding things and breaking things the way I like to break things, take the 2 seconds or however long that video takes to teach you how to search. See if that bug that you found's already been reported. Maybe you do have more information on it, and there is a way you can add a note or something to an existing ticket. Is that correct?
Yes, you can add a note. Yeah.
Yep. So if that issue has already been reported, you can add to it instead of creating a new ticket, and that not only helps keep all the information in one place, but it also causes less headache for people like Farelli and Scurby.
Yeah. I mean, I won't say it's a major headache, especially the ones we get all the time because we know the answers, but it wastes your time. Because if you're documenting something we already know about, that's time you could be doing something different.
Good point. All right. So I'll ask a couple of these other questions that somebody asked. First one, I'm sorry, I didn't write down who asked these questions. That would have been smart of me. Somebody who's done this a couple times probably would have known to do that. But I just got the questions themselves. Yeah, there's a lot of chat. I didn't want to scroll back through the whole thing. But somebody asked if bans from now, like somebody who was banned for multi-accounting or for whatever reason, will those bans carry over post 1.0, or do people get more chances, another chance?
Don't really discuss bans. They're individual. Bans can always be reviewed by sending an email to complaint@swgemu.com.
Or clicking the little customer support button at the bottom right corner of the Galaxy's page Does not require an account to do that. I learned this like a week ago. Somebody said, hey, my account was banned. How am I supposed to contact support if I can't sign in? And it turns out you don't need to. You can contact live support without signing in.
That's true. But also, if you are banned, you should still be able to go to support. There's nothing that stops you, even if you're banned, from talking to support.
Good to know. I thought you were allowed to use 2 accounts at once. No, as Fastburn says, you're allowed to sign in 2 characters on 1 account. Another question was about aliases. Now, I haven't really done a video about aliases because I myself don't use them. But let's talk a little bit about, again, something that I've talked with Farelli, or not Farelli, you're Farelli, LK and Skirby, which is the use of AFK macros and aliases to basically play the game without playing the game. What's your stance on that? I know LK's stance was to, instead of nerfing the AFK players, to reward the ATK players.
Yeah, he talked about that a little bit, and that's something I spend a lot of time thinking about. Of course, is that you can go one of 2 ways. You can either reward what you want or punish what you don't want. And I'm kind of in the reward what you want category.
Okay.
Which is not to say, like, yeah, there's, your mind just goes so many places with that. What you could and couldn't do.
And right, that's the thing. And it might be early. It might be too early to really talk about that kind of stuff. And a lot of the stuff, again, disclaimer, is subject to change. Nothing that we say here is decided yet. But, you know, if you had your choice of removing the ability for people to create aliases so that you couldn't do, like, send a tell for a group invite or that sort of thing, and people were stuck with only using the in-game macro system to AFK, would you be in support of that?
I think that...
I didn't mean to put you on the spot here, but...
Sorry, I had to rock forward and get off camera to think about that. I think that you ought to play the game.
Okay.
If there's an aspect of the game that's so shitty that you don't want to play it, I'm not saying we necessarily should jerk that out of the game, but maybe that's something to talk about. But aliases and AFK aren't the same thing.
Yeah, I see LK's bringing that up now.
Yeah, he's mentioned, like, for example, because you can use aliases to do AFK stuff, but aliases do not necessarily imply. Because, for example, for testing, I have, you know how I think you did a video.
I know where you're going. The shuttle tickets.
The shuttle ticket aliases. Yep. And I've had that for years since I was in your guild. But I have got just tons of aliases, and anything that I'm going to be checking all the time, like the Corvettes, I have actually got aliases that just, okay, I'm going to talk to Dalso, pick the mission, and then I just hit my Dalso alias, and it gives me all the items that I need to turn in the stuff, teleport to the proper place, launch into space.
Yep.
Because otherwise it would just take me an hour every time I want to test something. And when I need to go through a Corvette run 7 times in a day or 20 or whatever, any little shortcut like that.
But LK is correct that aliasing and AFKing are not the same. It's definitely still possible to AFK with the existing macros, or with the in-game macro system. But there's certain things that you can do with aliasing that the macro system itself just cannot handle. You know, there's some really complicated, complex stuff that I've seen where you can tip somebody, and depending on the amount of, like, there's an AFK doctor, and depending on how much you tip them, they'll give you a totally different buff set.
Yeah.
Like you can't do that with just the basic macro system.
Yeah, and the reason is because they're 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 actually using the client to get the text, if I'm not mistaken. If you're using something external, LK is posting about that. If you're using a third-party program to do anything in the game, you're violating the terms of service. That's a bannable offense. You can't use a third party, even if it's a clicking, it doesn't matter what it is. You can't use anything from outside. But I do know that there are systems using the in-game mechanics that allow you to do some amazing things.
So then it's really, in my opinion, it's a fine line between that, right? Because
Yeah.
the way I think it works, and I could be wrong, like I said, I don't use aliases myself, but doesn't it reference external files? They might be game files. You familiar
I
with
don't
them?
know I'm not sure how they work.
Okay.
I know that they've been looked at though, so
They're
I don't
not
think
using
so, but I
outside
could be wrong.
tools.
Yeah, I don't believe they are.
Interesting. All right.
It's because there's actually commands to do character move one left, move one left, move one left, and then you can copy what you've got selected, and it's all in game.
LK says he knows exactly what I'm talking about. I just somebody asked if that was a consideration to remove those post 1.0, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like most people agree that there are some things borderline, and you've banned a number of them we could or found. Yeah. Okay. Like I said, just
Yeah, that's he's making LK is bringing up a good point. Back to your question about what people can do to help the project.
report.
When you see weird stuff, report it to somebody. Talk to somebody. Make a bug report, or go into the Discord quality assurance or the Discord developers. Ask a question. If you want to be more private than that, talk to support. If for whatever reason you don't want to talk to support, I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you don't want to, you can go to LK, Skirby, or me. We will direct the thing where it needs to go. We need to find stuff that breaks the game.
So I am gonna take it back because there were a couple more questions on my list that I totally blew past. Do you, as of now, and obviously this can change too, but do you plan on sticking around post 1.0 on staff?
Yes.
So we can expect you to, again, for now, be a part of the team that's going to be making some of these decisions as to what stays in and what changes.
As long as they'll have me.
Cool. I'm going to put you in charge right now. You're the head honcho of the project. You are the answer. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
In more ways than one. If there was one feature that you could, one non 14.1 compliant feature, I should say, that you could add to 1.0, what would it be? Think about it.
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's an interesting post from Archive. I do like the idea of mobs, particularly high-value mobs, that don't spawn in the same place every time.
Yes. I knew I made the right decision putting you in charge. You wouldn't be.
It's a pretty simple thing that can vastly improve.
You wouldn't perchance be talking about a certain creature whose name starts with the letter A and ends with clay, would it? Yeah.
Sorry, say again?
The Acklay.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. Um,
Or were you thinking more broader than that? You know, the Acklay, Axfamin,
Acklay,
anything
Axfamin, who knows, Night Sister Queen, Crate Dragons. Why are they in the same spot every time?
that chemo that you have to kill for the Jedi Knight
Yeah.
trials.
Yeah, I mean, there's just little things like that that don't have to. They're in the same place every time now because
You cut out a little bit there. They're in the same place now because why?
because they were in the same place before.
Mm. Yeah, it looks like everybody's on your side. All right, guys, that's it. Let's all
All right.
nominate Farelli for the new project lead. um, I don't know. Were you involved in? See, if, I should have Fastburn on here because I think he was involved in the Black Sun recently
He's
not
here.
spawning. Yeah, I know he's here now. I should have him. This should be. We're gonna switch gears here. Fastburn, I'm interviewing you now. We're Did you ever get to the bottom of why world spawns weren't spawning in 3 waves? Because I know that was a forum thing that was talked about recently that I never got time to sign in and test. Farelli, are you familiar with this?
Yeah, I am.
Did,
I'm letting him answer, but the answer is yes.
all right, he said yes. So since you can talk, go ahead. Do you know anything more about that?
Um, I know I was actually looking at it, trying to figure it out, and then we ended up finding one little thing that had caused a problem in one particular set of types. So it was restricted to dynamic spawns that didn't have a lair, and for whatever reason it wasn't spawning the second wave of mobs, and so therefore you could never finish it off and get rid of the spawn area.
Got it. So that's been all cleaned up already?
Yeah, it was a fix, part of the AI fix that so something had been done to fix one thing, and of course it broke something else. Because
Cool.
that's what happens sometimes.
Tell him how we couldn't reproduce exactly the same.
It depends on what he means, because I'm looking. Hey, Holocron's here. Oh, that's no, sorry, that's Holocron. What did he say?
You could not do it 100% of the time at first.
Yeah, we had a really hard time. In fact, Fastburn and I were both on our local repos doing exactly the same stuff, and we were getting completely opposite results. I was consistently always seeing the second wave spawn for some reason. And he was never seeing it.
In the same location or in different locations?
Different locations. What we
Okay.
both had done is we had decided we restricted all the dynamic spawns on Yavin to the hut theaters, the 2 hut theaters, I believe it was. And he could never see the second wave spawn, and I was always seeing it. This was one night, and we worked on it for probably about an hour. And then I went to bed, I got up in the morning and did exactly the same test and was able to reproduce it 100% of the time, and I could not figure out why. There was no difference. But the night before, it never worked, and the next morning, it was reproducible 100%.
Interesting.
And it's one of the frustrations sometimes. And it's really annoying because there's always an answer for that, and we couldn't figure out what it was. But we did figure out that making this change solved the problem.
Demonix is asking what's the status of the vendor bug. Has that been resolved? Is this I think I know what he's talking about. A recent post about things
Locator's
disappearing.
spent a lot of time on that, and we've all discussed it quite a bit. I know that the most recent reboot, it was checked many times on Prime. Yeah, he's saying auctions has been super clean since the last Basilisk reboot, so we believe that nothing should be missing. That wasn't from before.
Right, so people might still be missing things, but nothing new should go missing.
Yeah, that's the struggle too, is that people check after the most recent reboot and they notice for the first time that something that was missing from 2 reboots ago is
Right.
missing.
Makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of work went into that.
I see Sugar Liz is talking a little bit about the events. The server she's has been doing some what she's calling on the spot events, which are just things where she'll sign in and start spawning. She'll send like a system message out like, "Hey, the Tuscan King is gathering forces near the Crate Dragon graveyard," or something like that. And if people all get together, they can go and there's like a little mini event that lasts maybe 45 minutes to an hour. Um, she's been very active as far as event coordinators go, and actually, it's funny that Niffer's here too. We miss you, Niffer. Some of your events were the greatest. But yeah, actually, I think Sugar Lizard might be the next one due for an interview. Get to talk to her a little bit about what it's like being an event coordinator, if she ever wants to do that.
Yeah, Sugar was actually made staff this week, I believe.
Oh, more than EC, you mean?
Well, she's an EC, but she was an EC intern.
Oh, I see.
But we figured that after several months and killing it in the event area,
Official staff. Well, congrats.
kind of made sense.
And now then we can have an official interview instead of an intern interview.
Yeah, she's really good. She's got a great imagination and puts a lot of effort into creating a really fun event for people. And the on the spot events, there's 3, I think, types. It's the on the spot, the planned event, and then the player event, which can still be requested on the events forum. And it's just a question of scheduling and so on and feasibility and scheduling. But the on the spot events are very often brainstormed quickly by staff over the course of 36 hours. Sometimes it is 10 minutes over a glass of whiskey, and it gets decided, hey, you know what would be cool?
Now, is it possible for those sort of on the spot events to be set up in advance and then run on like a random timer? Or do they have to be staff orchestrated? Could there be a
Right now,
scripted could there be a scripted attack on Theed by battle droids?
Well, the answer to that is yes, there could. Because that's the stuff that exists in the game. Everything that you interact with is operated by what's called a screenplay in Lua, and it's called that because it's a script. That's where all the dialogue comes from, all the radial choices and all that kind of things. So one of the things that we would like to do, I think, and we just haven't had the time to do it, is first of all develop the ability for staff to launch a screenplay from in-game without having to reboot the server.
Mm-hmm.
And then we could actually write screenplays that execute stuff, and that would exponentially increase the capability of events.
Right, because Niffer's asking, what's the point of on the spot if they're set up in advance?
That's true, yeah.
But like you're saying, the screenplay is set up in advance. But as far as the players are concerned, it would be on the spot. Imagine it's just like the way Sugar is running her on the spot events now, where you could be doing something on Tatooine and you get a system message that says, "Hey, attention all citizens, Theed on Naboo is under attack by battle droids." And so all these players can come together and go and fight off these battle droids that are taking over the palace or whatever. And there was no staff involvement to like set that up or get that happening. Maybe it's on a timer that runs just like how the old man, it's a random timer between whatever it is, it's 24 hours or 72 hours. What if it's on a timer that runs it like once every 30 days or something like that, randomly, has some sort of a window in there?
Yeah, it's a little bit like the phase 4 siege on the village.
Yes.
That has that timer of
where the thugs spawn and swarm the village randomly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be obviously something that you guys can work on. I was gonna say in your free time. Yeah, something to consider working on in the future with 1.0. But I think getting something like that in place would add a lot to the server, without causing, people to spend time once it's implemented. Yeah,
Yeah,
like Life
especially
Day.
when we do like planned events. If you remember last year, we did the one with the multiple locations where you had to drive out there, and there were a bunch of Dark Jedis that were Jawas or Tuscans. That was essentially the brainchild of Hackery. He had come up with the idea and even had played around with some of the structures.
Mm-hmm.
And we started placing structures so that we could set that all up, and we created aliases so that we could land on a planet, execute our aliases, and it would place all the structures in the right orientation.
Smart.
And everything.
Yep.
And we were able to have smoke coming up and things like that. So it's way more involved than you could do for an on the spot, because we needed like a couple of weeks to plan all that out. As a result of that event, we actually ended up deciding, hey, because the way that we place structures in game with one of the admin commands was like radians or something. And it was really a pain to figure out how to set a wall down so you could make a sequence of walls.
Yeah, but if you get good at that, if you find somebody who really knows how to set that stuff up, it makes it way more immersive. Because this is nothing against Sugar, but I do remember that Tuscan event that I attended that Sugar threw together. Even though her staff tune or her admin tune was invisible, you could see, based on where the enemies were spawning, the line that she was running around in. So you could basically chase her invisible tune around the battlefield as the Tuscans spawned. But if you could find a way through aliases or whatever to stand in one spot, enter one command, and have a whole field of dudes spawn in random or in different locations, that I think would be way more immersive.
I agree. What we ended up doing with that placement of structures, I'm pretty sure I wrote that, and we actually changed it to degrees because that's way easier, first of all. But we have learned that we've got a command to create creature, and you cannot put in coordinates. It doesn't work right. Or at least we can't create event mobs with coordinates.
Interesting.
So I actually have a long list of something that I'm working on to like revamp the create creature command so that we can do that, because we want to be able to have a script, an alias that runs, okay, I want to create 24 creatures and put them all in these locations, but make them event mobs. That's the ones that they say Dark Jedi Master event. The reason for that is because when they're spawned as event, they don't have any loot. And that way, anybody who wasn't there doesn't lose the ability to grab that loot. And that's the whole idea for that.
Got it.
But yeah, so we've learned doing some of this stuff over the last year that we need to improve the tools a little bit to make it way more awesome for people like Sugar.
And Niffer says, already working on it. She's got alias from when she was a event coordinator, so that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I remember that event that I described about the battle droids and Theed, I actually remember was the first server event in live that I participated in, and I think I was a novice scout with like 2 skill boxes, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go help save Theed from the battle droids. I saw them in the movie. They're really weak. I should be able to take them on. No, there was like 50 players there, all fighting one SBD, and I got killed in the next like 20 seconds. So when is the next event? Tomorrow? Tomorrow is an event. I know this is kind of not on topic for the interview, but hey, There's, roughly 50 people here right now, so if you guys play Galaxies, there's an event tomorrow. I'm sure Sugar can link that.
It is 100% on topic, by the way.
Yeah.
That's why we're all here. We're here to talk about this community that we enjoy, and that's part of it.
But yeah, if anybody else has any questions that they want to ask, now's the time. Go ahead and throw them in chat. Coming up.
Wants to know about his Pico question.
What was your Pico question, Splints? I missed it. Let me scroll up. There's so much text. This is why I don't put it on stream either.
Yeah, it's a lot to read, and I'm mostly just thinking, and so I'm not really reading it.
I feel like I did see it.
Do you think 1.0 will come in 2020, or are you certain of it? I've played a lot in the past, pre-CU Jedi Holos, and played a bit on SWGEmu, but I'm waiting for 1.0. And Serena has given the response, which is soon.
Yeah, that's...
do not know.
He beat me to it.
Something I mentioned earlier, and I don't know if... but it can't be said enough, is that we're volunteers with real lives, and especially in the last 3 months, we've seen some major impacts on people's real lives. We've had, I think, at least 2 people that were hospitalized for extended period of time. We've got a healthcare worker now who's really busy. We've got school teachers who are figuring out how to teach from home. We've got a person who works in corrections. So that's kind of a challenge when you're trying to have social distancing in a correctional facility. I changed jobs at the end of August, and that really impacted my ability to work, just because it's a major life adjustment when you worked at a place for 20 years.
Yeah, the very last question of these interviews is always, when can we expect 1.0?
It'll be soon, which is before soonish, which is before end of time.
What were we talking about before we went live a little bit, where we were talking about soonish?
There's an old post. I love it.
No, but you had said that something was coming. Oh, 1.0 is now, what you would say is now soonish?
No, I said no. I had said soonish, but then I reviewed the post.
Okay.
And there's a timeline that was created a long time ago by Vlada. And there's now, and then between now and soon is very soon. Then we have soon. Then we have soonish, and then after soonish is the end of time.
Oh, so soonish is further than soon.
Soonish is farther away than soon, but very soon would be sooner than soon.
So would you say 1.0 is very soon?
Maybe relative to the start of Basilisk in 2012.
Okay. There are 2 very important things that I want to get to. We're still taking questions from you guys, so keep it coming. His Pico question. Would you rather fight 100 small Pico albatrosses or 1 big Pico albatross? I guess it's just a personal question.
I think that is a very superficial question, and it depends greatly on the ham, resistances, and individual attacks of said Picos.
All right. So the 2 big important things, I'll bring them up and then you can explain them. For number 1, PayPal.
Yes, so there was a post made several months ago that I'm sure LK will paste. We changed the corporation. It used to be based in Hungary. It is now based in the United States. And we changed the PayPal destination. So if you go right now and donate to the project, it goes to a PayPal account for the U.S. corporation. But if you have a subscription from prior to that date that you haven't updated, it's still going to the old corporation, and we need you to change that. That's really important. We, I think, have changed slightly over 50% of the subs. We have something like 48% of the subscriptions who still remain to be changed.
Got it. So, yep, there's the link there. LK posted that. I'll post it in the video description too. if you do have a recurring subscription to the project, be sure you go on there and update it. Otherwise, you may be donating to the wrong place, the wrong account. What was the other thing? Oh, what can you tell us? And I believe Scurby said this too. I'm actually fairly... Hello. Hi.
This is Mrs. Farelli back here.
You can give her our thanks for allowing you this time for the interview.
He's saying thank you for allowing my time for the interview. Yes. He can hear you too.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Happy Easter or anything else.
Thanks.
Yeah. So here's the live. That's delayed a little bit.
Perfect. Sun Crusher. What do you want us to tell us about Sun Crusher?
What do I want to say about Sun Crusher? Sun Crusher is kind of a silly name.
Yep.
And I said earlier that one of the things we all kind of agree on is we'd like to have some mystery in the game. The second thing we all agree on is a crappy name.
You cut out again. Your audio cut out there for a second.
So the second thing we all agree on is Sun Crusher is a crappy name.
So
we're not going to call our server Sun Crusher.
That's it. Sun Crusher 2009 is officially a dead meme.
I'm pushing really hard for Moon Builder.
So does that mean in the server ideas section we can now start a new thread for ideas for the new server name?
Actually, there's a post.
Is that already there? Someone beat me to it.
I don't know if there's a post, but I know that we asked Sugar Lizard to work on that, if I'm not mistaken.
There it is. Sun Crusher 2009 dead meme, boys. GG. Time to pack it in.
Hey, Lord Cater, give us the Sun Crusher 2020 link.
Oh, I'm not clicking it. I've already done that.
Don't click it.
All right. Well, it's been about 90 minutes.
That's no moon. It's a Sun Crusher.
I'm trying to see if I missed any questions. There will be no Sun Crusher. Ask Dream Crusher.
Cool splints. And don't forget Sun Crusher 2009.
Could we call it North Coronet Mall?
Ooh. Serena asked a question in there about the subscriptions, and I don't think it got answered. He said, but you can forward the money to the right account, right? The answer to that is no. And so therefore, if you have a subscription, or if you know somebody with a subscription who's playing, wants to keep subscribing, change it. Because it's not going to the right bucket.
Got it. Very good. Yeah, that's all that I've really got. Yeah, the two companies are in different countries.
Yeah.
Yeah, how long, has this only been like that for, what, a month? 1 month now?
The changes, maybe 6 weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah, it's unfortunate because the forums aren't really frequented by that many people. And
8% of the players who log into Basilisk go to the forums.
8%?
8.
That's it. So there you go. There's the link. Okay.
Yeah, so it's if we rely on the forums to transmit information, it'd be like transmitting information current news information by wire or telegram.
Shoot, that's nuts. All right, I got to start making videos again. Because if my videos get to only 4% of the population, that's a 50% increase of spreading that information
Yeah,
around.
no kidding. Yeah. Well, it's something that's easily shareable, and I think it's easily digestible. Some people like to read, but most people would rather listen to a quick video while they're doing something else.
Unfortunately, I don't. As my commenters have told me, I don't make quick videos.
You
So,
don't what? I'm sorry.
I don't make quick videos. Apparently, I like to talk.
Every video is quick if you listen to them at 2 times speed.
That's true. I've had people tell me they do that too.
I do all YouTube videos at 2 times speed unless they're music, and I listen to all podcasts at 2 times speed. It is a remarkable downer when you meet people in person.
Yep.
Wow, you seem really sluggish today for some reason.
All right. Any final thoughts you want to just get out there?
Yeah. I think I'm pretty good. I think we've got...
Yeah, I don't see anything that we missed yet.
Okay,
says he's ready for another 2 hours.
You certainly asked Farelli what was his love for Star Wars from. Yeah, he did, and it'll be posted on... You're going to post a VOD, right?
Yeah, so anybody who's tuned in late, this whole interview is going to be posted on my YouTube. If not tonight, definitely tomorrow.
I will talk about something that hit me hard watching The Rise of Skywalker for the first time, because I talked about seeing Luke Skywalker's face on the drive-in theater when I was like 4 years old, and when I was 7 years old, going with my younger brother and my father to see The Empire Strikes Back, and my father loved Han Solo, and that's one of the reasons. This shirt today, I can't see myself. Hold on. Oh. There you go. This one. Never tell me the odds. Anyway, when I saw Rise of Skywalker, and at the end, near the end of the film, you have a very poignant moment between
Careful,
two
spoilers.
characters. Yeah, I'm not going to say it, but that just about killed me, because my father is not with us anymore. He lived to be a very ripe old age, but he's gone, and it's kind of crappy that I don't get to discuss new Star Wars films with him anymore, but that's all right. We had a good run.
I know the feeling. Speaking of t-shirts, I know it's been kind of hard to tell.
Nope.
But Mobius 1 merch does exist. You got to run.
No, keep talking about the merch.
All right, perfect opportunity. Mobius 1 merch, it does exist. We did a run a couple months ago. We're going to be doing another run here probably in another month or two. We're going to try and both do the original logo, as well as I've spoken to the artist who designed this logo for me. He's actually thinking of coming up with some slightly altered logos for the second round. So you guys just keep an eye on the channel. You'll find out how to get that the Dune collection. Oh, show me your Dune collection.
Yeah. Sugar Lizard asked about the Dune. That's the prequel trilogy of the Dune series. I've got 15, I think, of the books. There are a couple of more that have been released in the last few years that I don't have yet. That's my other thing. Dune. We could go on another half an hour about this, because Dune, if you know anything at all about the story, it's based on a desert planet called Arrakis, and that planet was inspired by a place out in Oregon called the Oregon Dune National Park. I'm from Oregon originally. I grew up just north of Salem, Oregon. In fact, when I was a kid, there was an old man who lived on Mount St. Helens who came to visit us 4 days before the mountain erupted, and he died. But in any case, there's literally a set of dunes that are about 5 miles off the ocean down in south central western Oregon on the Pacific Ocean. And when you go down into this set of dunes, it's like being on a desert planet. And Frank Herbert was from Tacoma, Washington, and he was a geologist, I believe, and he went down there to study the dunes. And when he was standing in there, he said, what would it be like on a planet that was all sand? And that prompted Dune. And of course, Dune heavily inspired Tatooine later because it was a sand planet.
Yeah, but they decided to go all the way to Tunisia.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but by the time Return of the Jedi came around, they made the trip to Arizona, Yuma.
New books.
So now we got Dune all over the.
All right. Well, that's it for the interview. We've now turned this into a Dune discussion stream.
It's good. Yeah, this is great, man. Thanks very much. Appreciate everybody showing up to watch.
Yeah.
I appreciate the love that was poured out for my wife. I'm sure I'll get to show her that clip.
Definitely stay tuned. I'm gonna try to do some more streaming. I'm surprised I haven't streamed at all. I've been stuck at home for the past 2 weeks, and I don't know for how much longer I'm gonna be stuck at home. I'm trying to get ahead on video production, but I should be streaming at least every couple days. So we'll see if I could do a Galaxy stream later this week. And yeah, thank you, Farelli, for taking the time out of your day to come do this. It's a little bit later than we wanted to do it, but we got it done. And thank you, everybody, for coming out and asking questions and being continuing to be a sweet, good community in support of the project.
Very cool thing.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Until
All right,
next
let's go
time.
test some stuff. What do you say?
Let's go break some stuff. Until next time, guys. Mobius1 here and Farelli. I'll see you guys later.
Peace.